Welcome, fearless viewers, to another chilling tale from our realm of horror. Tonight, we delve into the darkest corners of the human psyche, where shadows lurk and fear reigns supreme. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and join our growing community of horror enthusiasts. Help us reach our next milestone of 700 subscribers, as we continue to uncover spine-tingling stories that will haunt your dreams. Now, brace yourself, as the journey into the unknown begins. Last year, I was driving on a road trip. It was going to be gone for a few days. On the second night, I was sort of in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know where I would stay for the night. What I was hoping to find a hotel. But the more I was driving, the less it seemed I was near any kind of a city. The coverage on my phone was also going in and out all night. Finally, probably 11 o'clock, I pulled into a rest area and looked up hotels in the nearby area. The closest one was a motel that was 12 miles down the road. I decided that would be just fine with me. I was really tired. And then I left the rest stop to head for the motel. It took maybe 10 minutes to get there. And it was about a mile off the highway. It was in a very small town that really didn't have much of anything. The motel looked quite creepy, to be honest with you. It was all small and had a little office connected to the side of the building. There was just one level of rooms, with maybe 10 or 12 total. I pulled into the parking lot, which was nearly empty. Normally, I wouldn't want to stay here. But it was just for a quick night's rest. I would be out of there by 6 or 7 in the morning. And the rates for the night were just $29, which was honestly overpriced. So after parking, I walked to the office to get my room. When I walked in, a man with a longer beard sat behind the counter. He sat up in his chair and asked me what I wanted. I told him I would like a room and then gave him the $29. He then handed me a key and told me my room number. Then he leaned back in his chair again. I left his office and walked down to my room. When I got to my room, I went inside. And it was about what I expected. Not very clean and old, outdated furniture in the room. The TV was a box TV, but I was lucky that they had one at all. I pretty much just got ready for bed and then tried falling asleep. After laying down in the bed, I was there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and starting to doze off. That's when I got this weird feeling. I opened my eyes and turned over in bed. When I turned over, I faced a window. That's when I saw somebody moving away from the window. It wasn't like they were walking by though. It was like they had been looking in. I saw it for just a split second, and couldn't tell who they were at all. I got up from my bed and closed the curtains which had been open. But that didn't really do much good. They were cheap and didn't reach all the way. Plus the curtains were so thin that you could sort of see through them. But it was the best that I could do. I looked out the window as well, but didn't see anything. Whoever looked inside was gone now. I got back in bed and lay down. I tried falling asleep again. But that kind of ruined it for me. Now it wasn't as relaxed as before. I was still tired though. And after maybe 10 minutes, I was finally able to feel relaxed once more. But then I got the feeling again, like I was being watched or something. I was facing the window laying down this time. So I opened my eyes and looked through the window. I could see somebody was there again. At first, I didn't see that much, because of the curtains. But then I saw a man's head for just a split second. He then moved out of sight once more and away from the window. I couldn't tell who he was at all, because of how dark it was, and how I only saw him for about a split second. I got up and walked over to the window again. I looked outside, but the person was gone. I was really freaked out that some creep was looking in my window. I stayed at the window for a few minutes looking around, but I didn't see anybody. So I then decided to go back to bed again. My door was locked and I covered the window as best as I could. So all I could do now, I was trying to go back to sleep. I got back in bed and closed my eyes again. This time it took even longer. Maybe 20 minutes later, I was finally able to sleep. I don't know how long I was sleeping for, but I do know that I woke up some time later. What I remember was hearing the sound of my door opening up. The door was old and cheap, so it squeaked a lot. Instantly, I became wide awake. I sat up and looked through the doorway. I saw some guy entering and at first had no idea who he was. Once more, when he saw me, he quickly left out the door and ran away. It was after he left that I realized who it was. It was the guy who was working at the motel. I got out of my bed, packed all of my stuff, which didn't take me very long. Then I left the motel and got into my car. I drove away and went back onto the highway and later stopped at another rest area. I slept in my car there for the rest of the night. As crazy as it sounds, I felt a lot safer there than in that motel room. The next morning, I called the motel and tried to rip with the guy, however, I was hung up on when I started complaining. So after that, I called the police and told them what happened. Not sure exactly what they did about it. The man running the place was a total creep. I'm really glad that I'm a light sleeper and woke up when he opened the door. I don't know what he was planning to do. I hope he doesn't do that to anybody else. A few years ago, I was traveling by myself. I took a flight to Phoenix for some business that I hoped to do that. For the 2 nights that I would be in town, I was staying outside of downtown and a pretty standard hotel. It wasn't fancy, but it wasn't some cheap place either. It was perfectly fine and had the basic bed, TV, desk, chair, and bathroom. After I checked in, I got my room key and went inside. I had a couple of hours before I had to go anywhere, so I went on my laptop in my room. Then I left for a few hours. I was out in the city. And when I came back to my hotel room, it was night. After arriving back, I entered my room again and set my stuff down. It was exactly at this moment when I saw a man stand up from behind my bed. I had no idea who he was. The man was wearing a black sleeveless shirt and jeans and was bald with a goatee. I asked him what he was doing in here. The man did not say anything, but started to slowly walk towards me. I backed away and then went for the door. You actually chased after me as I did this. I got out of the room and into the hallway. Then I ran to the left where the front doors were. After making it to the lobby, I saw that the guy was not chasing me anymore. I told the employee at the front desk about the situation. She said that she would call the police, and I waited in the lobby until they got there. The entire time waiting, we didn't see the guy. The police got there within probably 10 minutes. Then they searched my room, which the man was gone from now. They also searched throughout the entire hotel. He had left though, probably through one of the back exits. After going back to my room, I was happy to see that none of my things were stolen. Was still very creepy, though. After that I was safely back in my hotel room. But when all the commotion was gone, the police had left and I was by myself. Probably about an hour later, I glanced out my window. I saw the man walking through the parking lot. My window looked out to the back parking area. The parking lot there had not nearly as many cars as the one out front. That parking lot also backed up to the rear of a couple of nearby businesses. He was walking from the hotel parking lot to a parking lot of another business. Then he went out of my sight. I thought about reporting him or something, but figured that he would be gone again by the time anybody got there. That night, I made sure that my door was locked and my window was covered. The rest of the time I stayed there was fine, though. And I did not see the man again. I still wonder though what he was doing in my room and how he got in there. It's possible that he was in the room with me for the couple of hours that I was there after arriving. He could have come in after as well. I may never know. This is a story of the last time that I stayed in a hotel. It happened over this past summer. I was staying in a hotel a little ways outside of a major city. The hotel was decent, and I would say slightly nicer than most. I remember after I got there, I checked into my room and then left almost immediately after I was out for several hours until a little bit later at night. I finally returned back and I think about 10 p.m. to the hotel. My room was on the second floor. And after I got back up to it, I realized that I couldn't find my key. I quickly found out that I didn't have it on me and that it was lost. I went back downstairs to the front desk and was able to get another one. Then I went back up and entered my room. I was pretty tired and decided to just go to bed. I got ready and then fell asleep within probably 20 minutes. I wasn't sleeping for very long though. The next thing I remember was waking up. It sounded like my doorknob was turning or something. I was confused. But then I heard the sound of the door starting to open. I had no idea why that would be happening. They wouldn't clean my room at almost midnight. I looked over but couldn't see the door because of where I was in bed. The bathroom was at the front of the room. So there was a little hallway and I couldn't see around the corner. As I got up, I heard the door closing. Moments later, I walked over to where I could see, but nobody was there. I realized that somebody must have started to enter the run and then stopped. I didn't know why though. And I didn't know who would do that. I was really creeped out by this situation. So I walked over to the door and looked out at the people. I still saw nobody. I figured whoever it was had walked away. I was going to go back to bed and I turned to my left. When I did, I faced the bathroom for just a second. All of the lights in my room were off, except for a little lamp by my bed. So it was really dark. But inside of the bathroom, I saw there was somebody in there. And whoever it was looking at me. I instantly turned back and opened up the door. Then I ran out of the room. I went down the hallway to the stairs, and then went down, then back to the lobby. Once I was in the lobby, I told the person at the front desk that somebody was in my room. They went back up with me. But when we got there, the person was gone. After that, though, I decided to get a new room. I moved all of my stuff. And luckily they had an open room on the third floor. The rest of the night was fine. I still don't know who that person was. I realized now that I probably dropped my key somewhere in the hotel or around it. This person probably picked it up and then could get access to my room. They went in the bathroom instead of walking right into the room. And that's where they were hiding when I saw them. I'm really glad that I switched rooms after that. I'm also glad that I noticed them when I did. A few years back, I found myself driving down a quiet old highway late at night. I had to travel for work. And sadly, they didn't fly me out. So I had to drive. I would get compensated though, which was nice. But I still didn't like such long driving. Now I had originally planned on stopping in the city and getting a hotel there. But I was making such good time that I drove right past it and kept going. By that point, I was kind of winging it, because I didn't know where the next major city was. And not even major city like big city, but just a city with a decent hotel and some other businesses in it. By the time it was midnight, I finally started to get tired, and was now almost 5 hours ahead of schedule. That was good. But now I had no clue where I was going to stay. I took an exit to get some gas. I figured I could drive for another hour or so if I needed to. But after fueling my car, I saw a sign for an old motel down the road. I'm not too picky, and the motel didn't look that nice, but it honestly could have been worse. Without very high expectations, I drove over to the motel and got a room for the night. It was a pretty standard 2-level motel, with each room facing the parking lot and opening right up to it. There was a sidewalk in front of the rooms on the first level and a walkway on the second one as well. I ended up getting a room on the first level at the far end. So after I got the room key, I got my things and headed inside. The room was actually nicer than I expected. There was a decent-sized cable TV, the bathroom was in the back, and the room was clean. The bed was also pretty comfortable. I took a shower and then got in bed and decided to watch some TV until I got really sleepy. I would say about 30 minutes later, there was a sudden knock on the door. This was really odd, but I wasn't afraid of anything, or so I thought. I got up out of bed and walked over to the door. Then I opened it up. There was a man standing there. He looked somewhat tall and skinny. He had longer hair and a beard. The man said hi, and I asked him what he wanted. His speech was slightly slurred, and I suspected alcohol demand, and asked me if he could come inside just for a few minutes. I didn't know why he thought I would let him in my motel room. I said no. And then I shut the door in his face. After I did, I could tell that he was just standing there. And I hope that you would go away. I went back over to my bed and sat down. I glanced over, but I couldn't see the guy anymore. I hoped that he was gone. But like 30 seconds later, he knocked on the door again. I yelled at him to go away. Then I walked over to the window and looked. I saw him walking away on the sidewalk in front of the rest of the rooms. I was thinking to myself that I hope he doesn't bother other people. And hopefully nobody lets him in their rooms. Then I sat back down on the bed. Probably 5 minutes after this, I noticed movement out of my window. I looked over and saw that the guy was back. He was standing right outside and was holding what looked like some kind of pipe object. I really didn't know what it was. But then he swung it at my window, and it made a really loud noise. The window didn't break at first though. He hit it several more times before I heard glass starting to break. I realized then that this guy must have been insane, and he was probably going to get in. He had nothing to fight him off with. So I got up from my bed, grabbed my phone, keys, and wallet and ran to the back. Then I got inside of the bathroom and locked myself in there. I heard him repeatedly hitting my window and glass breaking. I called the police and told them what was going on. They said that they would get there as soon as possible. My only fear was that the guy would somehow be able to break the bathroom door. This was a somewhat cheap motel, so I wasn't sure how good a quality the door was. After a couple of minutes of him whacking the window, he made his way inside. I heard him hitting random things in the room. He had the TV, and I know he had some walls and other stuff. I remained hidden in the bathroom. Soon though, he made his way towards the back. He whacked the bathroom door a few times, and then went back into the other area of the room. After about another minute, he went back towards the bathroom. Then I heard sirens. I knew it was just a matter of time before the police got there. Now, the sirens didn't seem to scare the guy off. Instead, he was still hitting things. The police arrived within a minute after that, and started yelling at the guy to stop. Soon, I finally heard him stop hitting things. The police were able to get in, and I came out from the bathroom. I saw that the room was all torn up. He certainly succeeded in breaking things. At least he didn't hurt anybody though. After that, I obviously had to get a new room. The rest of the night went well though. The next morning I was back on the road. That was by far my craziest hotel experience.